Am I in? Cool, I'm in. We'll keep an eye on that. Good morning, everyone. How are we all doing? It's nice to see so many new faces. If you're here with us for the first time, hello, welcome. We hope you feel very, very welcome. My name's Sam. I'm the pastor here. I was fast-tracked through high school, which is why I'm 25. In case you're wondering, I'm not 19. I just can't grow facial hair, so that's what that is. If you, alright, thanks for the laugh, guys. Thank you very much, that's kind. If you wanted to know on the adventures of Sam's ripped jeans, I'll keep you up to date. Last time I preached, I told you that I had a rip down here because where I put my foot in. My lovely wife sewed it back up, so I look normal again. So that's nice. She was very good, didn't she? Well done, Nia. But still, I'm not buying another pair because it's ridiculous. So, today we're starting a new sermon series called Red Letter Sermons. Now, Sam, why is it called Red Letter Sermons? What's going on? What does that doesn't make sense. Well, let me explain. In some forms of Bibles, I don't know if you might want to check yours right now, sometimes on the phone app it is, all the words of Jesus are in red. So you can flick through the New Testament or through the Gospels and you can see the exact words that Jesus spoke because they're in a red colour. So hence why we've called it Red Letter Sermons, because basically for the next few weeks we're going to be looking at specific phrases or specific stories where Jesus says, exact words and unpick sort of the exact words that Jesus sort of spoke and what they mean for us today. So today we're going to be looking at John 21. So that's the last book of the Gospels. So the four Gospels are the stories of Jesus. All the rest of the Bible talks about other people's accounts of either him or the Old Testament is people that came before him pointing to him. But John is the last book of the last chapter of the book by a man named John, obviously. John, in this book, calls himself the disciple whom Jesus loved, which is quite a phrase, isn't it? You know, other people might have thought, well, that's a little bit cocky. Don't like you, John. But John knew who he was. John knew his identity, and that's a very, very important part. So let's read it, then we're going to pray, and then we'll sort of get stuck in to the story, if that's all right. So we're going to start John 21, verses 15 on towards the end. So it says this: when they had finished breakfast, Jesus. There's always food involved in the Bible. I love stories with food. When they had finished breakfast, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" He said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." He said, and Jesus said to him, "Feed my lambs." Jesus said to him the second time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And he said to him, "Yes, Lord, you know that I love you." So Jesus said to him, "Tend to my sheep." And finally he said to him again the third time, "Simon, son of John, do you love me?" And Simon Peter, was grieved because he said to him the third time, do you love me? And he said to him, "Lord, you know everything. You know that I love you." Jesus said to him, "Feed my sheep. Truly, truly, I tell you, when you were young, you used to dress yourselves and walk wherever you wanted. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and another will dress you and carry you where you do not want to go." This he said to show by what kind of death he was to glorify God. And after saying this to him, he said, "Follow me." Verse 20. So Peter turned and saw the disciple whom Jesus loved, that's John, following them, the one who he also had leaned back against him during the supper, and said, "Lord, who is it that is going to betray you?" When Peter saw him, when he saw John, he said to Jesus, "Lord, what about him? What about this man?" And Jesus said to Peter, "If it is my will that he remain until I come, what is it that to you? You follow me." You follow me. So I love in life many examples. Much of our life is done in a place where any response is acceptable. You know, I could walk up and I go, "Oh, hi Julia, how are you?" And you could go either way. Or I could see someone in a park and I say, "Oh, what have you been up to?" I'm looking for any real information. I'll start a conversation, right? It's nothing too specific. "Oh, my love, how are you? How are you this morning? Have you got work?" There's just a wide range of examples and situations that could happen. But in life, sometimes there are situations where really someone's only looking for one response. Right? I'll give you an example. Go to the supermarket. I don't care how chatty the person at the till is, yeah? They don't care how your day is. They don't. They've got to ask you because they've got a name badge on and they're working. They don't care. All they care about is that you've got enough money in your bank account to pay for the food they've just spent 15 minutes scanning through, because it's a pain if you don't and they have to cancel it. That's all they care about in reality. I'm sorry to bring such a sadistic look at the world, but that's the truth. I'm bringing truth to you this morning. What about something else? At an airport, you go through the people, beep, 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 they scan you, so we're just going to have to take you to the... Has anyone ever been in a side room? I've never actually been. So who knows what happened? Oh, blimey, I won't ask. So I always thought it would be you, Julia, international woman of mystery. So they take you into the side room, and they don't care where you're going. You know, they're not bothered at all. You're going to spend some time on the beach. They don't care. They just want to know, are you travelling for genuine, reasons? They want to know, your plans, where you came, but that's it. They want to know. So if you bring other things up, they don't care. They're really not bothered. A final thing, in a wedding, you stand there at the altar. I remember it so fondly, like it was yesterday. I have to say that. So, if I want to have lunch this afternoon. So, you stand there at the altar, and, the pastor, the vicar, whoever's leading the service will go, do you take... Now, I'm sure he cares that you love one another. I'm sure he's so excited to find out about where you're going on honeymoon, into all the exciting adventures you want to have when you're married. But in realism, in that moment, all he wants to hear is the words, I do. Yeah? And he doesn't want to hear the words, I object. There's two things he don't want to, he don't want to hear I object, and he just wants to hear I do so he can carry on with the service. But imagine if in those, we use the wrong sentences, the wrong phrases in those stories. Imagine you're in the, you're at the altar, and the pastor says, why don't you tell us a reason why you're getting married? And you use the shopping example, you went, I can afford it. That's not very nice, that's not full of... What about in an airport, excuse me sir, where you're travelling to today? I love you, I always have and I always will. I do. It doesn't make sense. What if you're at the supermarket? Sun cream going through. I'm travelling for genuine reasons, I swear. It just wouldn't make sense, but there's some situations in life where people are just looking for that one response, and they want it and they don't care about anything else. And we meet Jesus in this story here. There's many stories where Jesus wants to know how people are doing, their lifestyle, where they're at, what's going on. But in this story with Simon Peter, he wants to know one thing. Do you love me? He wants to know one thing. Do you love me? And I was wondering, I thought, why, Jesus, are you being so specific? Why are you forcing something to repeat this and repeat this and repeat this? What's it for? What are you getting out of it? Let me give you some background for those of you who might not know the story about what Simon Peter has come through. Many of you will know, and maybe it's a little bit more obvious, but in the story of Jesus' crucifixion, Jesus says, before he goes to die, he says, Simon Peter, you will deny me 3 times. You will deny me 3 times. And Simon says, I will die for you. And he says, but before the cock crows, the next morning you will have denied me 3 times. And of course the story goes that Peter denies Jesus. He says, no, people come up and say, you knew that Jesus guy. You're one of his followers. And he goes, no, not me. I don't know the guy. I'm just here watching. And someone else comes up to him and says, hey, you're that Simon Peter. You used to follow Jesus. No, that's not me. And it says the 3rd time, a girl by a fire as they're waiting outside while the trial's going on, speaks to him and says, I saw you following Jesus, a little girl. And it says that he even curses at this girl. He's so abhorrent. He goes, no, I didn't know Jesus. I don't know him. He's a stranger to me. And he denies the reality of knowing Jesus. And so we can see that all of a sudden these 3 questions of do you love me sort of all of a sudden become a little bit more prominent. So what's happened? Jesus has gone to the cross. He's died. He's gone to the grave. He's buried, and 3 days later, he's risen again. Amen? Amen. That's good news, everyone. We can celebrate about that. That'll be exciting. And he's come, and as he's come back, he's gone on this sort of war path of redemption. So he goes and meets his followers, and he says, believe in me, believe in me. There's a follower called Doubting Thomas. He was literally known because he was so doubtful. He always questioned things. And he's not with the disciples when Jesus first turns up, and then he's there, and they go, Jesus is alive, and he goes, rubbish. That's bull. Bearing in mind, Jesus has told them numerous times he's going to come back to life. Unbelievable. But anyway, they've forgotten that, and Thomas is like, no, wait. The only way I will believe it's him is if I stick my fingers in the hole in his hands and I put my fist in his side. I mean, that's descriptive. There's no need to be that descriptive, Thomas, but that's what he says. And so Jesus appears to the disciples again, and he looks Thomas dead in the eyes and he says, Thomas, put your fingers through my hand. Put your hand in my side. See that it's me. And Thomas's response is, my God and my Lord. And it's this moment. So Jesus is on this redemptive path. He's going back to people and going, would you believe in me? Believe in me. Do what you need. See what you need. Receive the proof that you need to believe in who I am. And he comes to Peter and he reveals himself. And then the disciples are on a boat. And I don't remember if you know an old miracle that Jesus did at the start of his ministry. And all the fishermen were in the boat and they caught nothing all night. And Jesus from the shore, he says, throw your nets on the other side. And they think, this guy's crazy, but okay, we've got nothing to lose. So they throw their fishing nets on the other side of the boat, and they pull in a haul that almost breaks the nets. And that's what Jesus does at the start of his ministry. And at the end of his ministry, Jesus meets them at the shore, and Peter doesn't know if he's alive yet, or he's not sure, but he's never had this moment of reconciliation with Jesus yet. And he sees Jesus, and he says the same, and Jesus says, throw your nets on the other side. And again, I don't know why they don't recognize it. They're very... they're a bit dumb, these disciples, aren't they? They're a bit special. But they throw the nets on the other side, they catch loads more fish, and Peter goes, it's him. It's my Lord, it's Jesus. And so he jumped out. This is hilarious. I wish I had this, I don't know where it is in the Bible, but go read it for yourself. Peter is undressed, right? He's in like bare minimum clothes as he's fishing. He puts a coat on and jumps into the water. That's just stupid. I'm not being funny, but jump in there and have a coat when you get out. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, that's just me saying Peter wasn't the brightest, sharpest tool in the box. Puts a coat on, jumps in, so now he's got no dry clothes. Who knew? Anyway, so he swims across to Jesus, he meets him, they have the fish that they've caught, and then this is the moment we pick it up from, when they had finished breakfast. So this has just happened. Peter hasn't yet been redeemed by God, he hasn't yet had that reconciliation with Jesus, and Jesus takes this moment to do this. Peter, do you love me? Do you love me? Peter, do you love me? And notice he goes, yeah, I love you. Yeah, I love you. And then the third time, just as it was when he denied him, Jesus, you know I love you. You know I love you. You know who I am. Believe me, I love you. And it's interesting, the Greek words that he's used here, there were three main different types of word for love in the Greek language, okay? There was agape. Everyone say agape with me. Agape. I've never done that before, it's quite fun. I see why people do it. Agape is like an unconditional love, a love for your stranger, a love for someone you don't know, a love for someone that has hurt and abandoned you. It's sort of the love that is pointed towards God, a love that we can barely attain to, a love that we can only dream for, really. Then there is phileo. Everyone say phileo? Phileo. You're getting good at this, get ready, there's a third one coming, alright? And phileo is like a deep love between friends and a respect and a care for. So that is what most people would call their love for one another. And then there is eros. Say eros. Very good. Eros is but eros is a bit of sexual love. It's a bit of love that says, I want a piece of that, so let's get it on. So that's eros. So let me just say, eros is not used in this sentence. If it was, it'd be a very different New Testament. So this one, Jesus says, Peter, do you agape me? Do you unconditionally love me? And Peter goes, yeah, Jesus, I phileo you. I respect you. I love you as a friend. I love you deeply. I care for you. And Jesus says, Peter, do you agape me? And Peter says, Jesus, I phileo you. It's like, you're not getting this. And I always thought it would go the other way. I always thought Jesus would say, do you agape me? And Peter would get it. But you know what? Jesus is so compassionate that he says, the third time he says, Peter, do you phileo me? And Peter says, yes, Jesus, I phileo you. And it's like Jesus has done all this on the cross, and he's still willing to take that last step towards Peter and say, would you be reconciled to me? And I'll even do it more on your terms. And some scholars say that, the words were interchangeable. But I think the Bible was written for a purpose. I believe there's a purpose in those words that Jesus says, I reconcile myself, and I'm not even going to ask you to come to here. You know in Hitch where he says when you have to kiss a girl, you have to go 90 and they have to go 10? Jesus has got like a full 100. He's got like 50, and then he's got 90, and Peter's not going anywhere. So he's like, I'll go in for the snog light. Do you know what I mean? He's going for the full 100 and going, well, just reconcile yourself to me. And what's amazing about this is sometimes we can go, oh, Jesus knew Peter loved him. Great, by the end of the story. Good on Jesus, they're friends again. Jesus wasn't doing it for him. Jesus knew Peter loved him. The Bible tells us that Jesus sees us the things of our hearts. He sees it inside us. He doesn't see the outward appearance. This was for Peter. This process of reconciliation, this process of declaring some truth was for Peter. Because can you imagine holding that weight of knowing you rejected your Lord and Saviour, the person you'd spent 3 years following and devoting your life to, and then you meet him in a room and nothing's said, and then he comes back and he reveals himself to Thomas and nothing's said, and then you see him on the shore and you swim to him and you want to speak and he says, "Shall we have breakfast?" And you're like, "No, I want to just say sorry," but it doesn't come out, and then Jesus gives him this opportunity. He says, "Come back to me. Come back to me. But I'm not going to embarrass you, I'm going to ask you something." So you might have said, "Sam, we sang a lot of the word, I love you, I love you, I love your presence, you are good, you are good, you are good, you are good, you never let me down, you never let me down, you never let me down." Why do we sing those words over and over again? Can I tell you, in those moments, it's not for God. God's not there going, "Oh, I am good." Who knew? Like God's not surprised by the fact that he's good when we sing it. He's not going, "Tell me one more time. Can you repeat it 4 more times? I just need one more chorus and then I'll believe it." You know, he's not saying that. He's not saying, "No, I thought I was going to let you down, but no, maybe I won't." You know, he's not saying that. It's for us to stir something else in our souls. When we're going through rubbish, when we're living through this crap that life gives us, and we look up at Jesus and we can go, "But you are good. Jesus, I love you. Sam, do you love me? Jesus, I love you. Sam, do you love me? Jesus, I've had a rubbish week. Sam, do you love me?" And it's like in this situation, Peter must have all the apologies written in the world, right? Wouldn't you? If you've done something terrible to someone, you're thinking how you're going to approach them. You're playing in your mind like a record player, just going over and over. "Okay, this is what I'm going to say." The story of the prodigal son, it says the prodigal son had prepared an apology for his father. But his father runs and just, "Oh, shut up. Just give me a hug." And this is it. Jesus in this story is this vicar at the altar going, "All I need is I do. I don't care what you're going, honeymoon, don't know, just I do. We can get to that stuff later, but for now, I just want I do. I just want I love you. I just want I'll follow you." It's not for him. It was for Peter to feel the reconciliation, to speak himself back into life, to show himself that he does feel the love and the care and the compassion that he once felt for Jesus. And notice that when Jesus says these words, he says, "Do you love me?" Peter says, "Yes." He says, "Then feed my sheep. Tend to my lambs. Feed my sheep." And the words there, when it says tend, and when it says feed, it's not even talking about a literal feed. In the Greek language, the word that it uses actually means teach my people. It means give them something that they can live on, that will sustain them, train them. So not only is Jesus reconciling them, he's giving him a purpose. Jesus says, "Do you love me?" Peter says, "Yes." And he says, "Look after my people." He says, "Do you love me?" "Yes." Care for them. "Do you love me?" "Yes." Teach them and train them. So when Jesus reconciles himself to you, and when he reconciled himself to you, and if you've never reconciled yourself to Jesus and you don't know him, when he wants to reconcile himself to you, and when you do, not only does he tell you he loves you, not only does he become your father, not only is he your provider, but he gives you a purpose in life. He gives you a purpose to fulfill. And that's going to look different to Peter. It's going to look different to me. It's going to look different to the person sat next to you. But when he calls you and he says, "Do you love me?" he says, "Now go. Go and do what I've put in you. Go and create what I've created in you. Go and be the person I called you to be." And he completes this with one statement. "Follow me. Follow me. Whatever you're doing, follow me." It was his main call throughout his ministry to his disciples. Would you follow me? It doesn't mean literally walk behind me. In the days that when they I'm going to say Padawan. I know that's from Star Wars, but I can't think of the actual word. A follower or a trainee, let's say. Sorry, apprentice. Thank you. I still prefer Padawan. When you've got a trainee to an old-fashioned rabbi, which Jesus was back in the day, when it says following, they would literally follow these people. Like, they would be around them. If Dave sat here, I would sit here and I would copy him. because I thought it would give me. I think there are stories, and someone told me this just a week ago, which is crazy. There were stories of radical people that would follow rabbis, and they would hide in the rabbi's bedroom to watch how he got changed, because he thought that would unlock something of following Jesus. That's mental. If I find any of you in my bedroom, I swear to you right now, peeping out of my cupboard, that's it. Like, I'm leaving, I'm gone. That's it, I'm done. Easy, Jeff. I've got my eye on you. Man, I've lost my track now. Imagine people in my bedroom. So being a follower. So Jesus, in this original thing, he says, follow me, but he knows he's about to go to heaven. So what he says is, love me, care for me, do what I've called out of you, go and create what I've sent you, go to the places I've sent you. You know, he says, follow me in a way that says, become more like me. And so that's our call as Christians, not to be perfect. If you're in here and you think Christianity's about being perfect, for goodness sake, follow me for a day and you'll know it's not. Come in the car with me and you'll know I use my rag with other drivers, and you'll know, oh, he's not perfect. Or just ask Nia and she'll give you a list. But you know what? It's about saying, Jesus, I'm going to follow you. And this story gives me hope. I don't know about you, but it gives me hope that when I reject Jesus, when I don't live like him, and when I don't image him in my life to my friends, he doesn't come and say, terrible, missed the mark. He says, Sam, do you love me? I say, yes, Jesus. He says, feed my sheep. He says, Sam, do you love me? I say, yes, Jesus, I love you. He says, tend to my flocks. He says, Sam, do you love me? I said, Jesus, you know I love you. And he says, well, feed my sheep. Feed my lambs. Do what I've called you to do. In a word, in a phrase, follow me. Follow me. And then we get to see Peter. What he does is immediately, which is remarkable, he suddenly goes, you know, he's been reconciled, he's with Jesus, and then he just goes, so what about him? I'm just asking, just because I know we're good now, and you've given me a purpose, and I'm fully reconciled, and I'm great, and I'm in the best place I've ever been. But it's funny because I don't know where he's going. I don't know if you've ever been like that in life. God, sorry, I know you've blessed me. Just they got more money than me, and I was just wondering, what's that about? Sorry, no, it's just because one of my family members is ill, and that person got healed, and mine didn't. What? Where are you going with this? And all of a sudden we can lose our minds looking at comparison. We can go, but Jesus, you're being like that for that person, so why aren't you being like that for me? And we forget. We forget on this day of remembrance. It's quite an awesome message, really, of remember what he's done for you. Remember the way he's reconciled himself to you. He will bless you, I promise you. He will change your life and transform you. But the moment we start to compare and we look to the side and we go, Jesus, what's that about? And I love sass, right? Big fan of sass. Love it. Laura's doing this with her eyebrows because Laura's a sass queen. You're welcome. And Jesus says this. I love this. If it's my will that he remains, or literally if he doesn't die until I come, what's that to you? I'll have to tell you. It don't bother me. Jesus is saying, but you, this is the phrase I want to focus on, you, but you, follow me. You, follow me. Who's ever got stuck looking to the side and thinking, oh God, I'm not sure that's fair. That doesn't look like the way that you taught me to. I just don't think. Can I be bold and say that he says this to you? As for you, as for you, as for you, follow me. What is it to you if I want that person to X, Y, Z? What is it to you if that situation resolves itself in ABC? As for you, you follow me. Do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? Then follow me. So that's a message really for, I think, mostly those of us who believe in Jesus. That second part. It's a message of, don't look to the side, don't look to the left or to the right, but actually as for you, you follow me, you do what I've called you to do, you use the giftings I've put inside you. But that first part of reconciliation, of I love you, I love you, I love you, I believe that's a message for those of us who don't necessarily believe in Jesus in this place this morning. And I believe that Jesus would want to ask you those words. Do you love me? Do you want to follow me? And I promise you, it'll transform your life. Saying yes to Jesus, and you can look around this room and you can go and ask any single person in this room, Jesus has changed our lives for the better. Don't mean anything's perfect. Doesn't mean life becomes easy. But it means you have a father. It means you have a friend. It means you have a community of people supporting you in the troubles. It means you have someone that you can lift your prayers to in a time of need. But I promise you, he's asking you today, do you love me? And he doesn't want any other response. He's not looking for, but Jesus, I've said this about you before. But Jesus, I've laughed about you before to my friends. I take the mick out of Christians at work. Jesus, I've done these things in my past, in my life. Jesus, I could never follow you because of this, that, and the other. And he says, shh. Do you love me? Do you want to love me? Do you want to learn to love me? Do you want to learn to follow me and be one of mine? Because you can. All it takes is for you to say, yeah, I love you. I want to follow you. I don't know what that looks like right now, but I want to follow you. I want to feel that transformation. I want to find that truth and purpose in my life that only you can truly give. So God, I'm gonna leave away all the other answers. I'm going to tell you about my honeymoon sometime later, but for now I'm just going to say I do. I do. I do. So in this moment, I'm going to ask really, I got a slap on the wrist for making people put their hands up and bow their heads. So, because sometimes we do this in private, but I always used to believe that when someone said it to me. So we're gonna do it, and basically I'm just going to ask, if you're here today and you're saying, Sam, I've got all these reasons that I should be a Christian, I've got all these reasons that I should follow Jesus, but I know that Jesus isn't asking me about any of that right now. He's just asking me, do you love me? And Sam, I want to say yes. For the first time, I want to invite Jesus into my life. And you know what? This room is going to go berserk if you say yes and you come and join. I'm going to ask you to come and just stand with me, and I'll say a prayer with you. And this place is going to clap and stamp their feet and celebrate with you if that's a decision you want to make. So I'm just going to offer it up. If anyone, I'm just going to give it a few seconds. If anyone today wants to say, do you know what? I do. I don't know exactly what loving Jesus or following Jesus looks like, but I want to say I do today and commit my life to him. I'm just going to say on the count of 3, just come up and join me and we'll say a prayer together. I'm not going to find it awkward if no one comes, there's no pressure. So 3, 2, 1. If anyone wants to commit their lives, why don't you just come and stand with me at the front now?